Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How is everyone doing on this beautiful Friday? I pray that your morning, your afternoon, your evening, depending on where you are, I pray that it got off to an amazing start. But if not, you are able to hit that reset button and just simply start all over again. I understand we are living in some uncertain times, some crazy times. And every day we wake up, we don't know what's in the news. We don't know what the forecast is going to be. So many different changes and things that we cannot control. So it can lead one to be uneasy, anxious, stressed, worry. But I just want to remind those of you that are heavy in your heart, those of you that don't know if you're coming or going, those of you that are frustrated and what they say, I'm over it already. I come to speak to you that are saying enough is enough. I come to remind you that no matter what is going on, no matter what you see, no matter how you feel, if you don't remember anything else, if you don't remember nothing that I say during this stream, God is yet on the throne. I said, God is still on the throne. God is still in control. I pray that just you hearing that, me reminding you of that, can usher in a little peace. That it can settle your spirit, that it can settle your heart, that it can settle your mind. To know that you don't have to worry about what's going on in the world, because nothing happens without God's permission. You may say, well, Yolanda, that's easier said than done, but we got to count it as done. There's no other way around it. God is still on the throne. Nothing has caught him by surprise. Not even the president in office. It may not be what you have wanted. It may not be who you have chosen, my Lord. It may not be who you voted for. But I come to let you know God can use anything. God can use anyone. Even down to the very one you feel that is unfit. Down to the one that you feel is not worthy. God said that's the very one. Because it's not who you would have picked. It's not who you would have selected. But that's the very one that I'm going to use in this hour. I'm going to get on into this because I don't want to hold you long. Thanks to everyone that will hop on. Those that are already here, I can't see if anyone is in the room. And those that will come on after, I thank God for you. I don't want to count I don't want to look over you being here and taking your presence for granted. But I just want to come and speak to someone that might be going through today. And they feel like they have been tossed or being tossed to and fro. You don't know if you're coming or going. So much is going on, you lose track of time. You don't remember the day of the week. The title of today's message is Rematch. Rematch. And the definition of rematch is a second match between the same teams or contestants. Let me read that again. A rematch is between the same teams or contestants. This come about this message. I was in conversation with my son and how we began to be speaking and talking and discussing some things, and how the Holy Spirit dropped in my spirit the word rematch. Some of us don't understand that in order for a rematch to take place, someone is unhappy. Someone feels like they was cheated out of the game. Someone felt like there was some cheating going on. Someone refused to believe that they didn't win. So in that moment, they would ask for a rematch or a replay. The enemy could not accept the fact that he was not God. He couldn't accept the fact that he was not in control. So after he was tossed out of heaven, he wanted a rematch. He wanted a do-over. He wanted to show, or trying to show, that he is something or someone greater. Because God is confident in how the play went down, how the game played out, he obliged him and said, bet. You want a rematch? You want a replay? Let's do this. So the devil, he got his players and God got his. I'm not sure what team you on today, but I'm Team Jesus. Sometimes it's hard to take a L. When people feel like they have lost, they want a rematch. They want a replay. I come to let you know today, God has chosen you to be on his team. God has chosen you in this time, in this season, to be a part of this rematch. God is looking for some confident people. God is looking for some upright people. God is looking for some trustworthy people. Because this rematch is going to be like none other. It's going to be more intense. It's going to be more passion. Because this is the last play. You got to show up and be ready to fight. You got to show up and be ready to win. God was so confident. He obliged him in the rematch. He accepted the request. But remember, he had already won. But because sometimes we don't want to just accept the truth for what it is, we will accept the request. But just because we're doing a rematch, we're not going to throw away the win that was already won to begin with. So God was so confident, he said, let's do this. But because this is a rematch, I'm choosing my players. See, we're not going to start this game how we started out in the beginning. And I had to do a little bit of research because I know nothing about basketball. But in my little few minutes of research, I come to learn and to find out that the starting lineup is the person that starts the game. It's the person that everyone's familiar with that's going to always start the game. This is a person that everybody pretty much looks up to because of how he move and how he dunk and how he run and how he dribble and how he move around on the floor. So there's great confidence in the starter. My Lord. And you may have been one of the ones that they call a substitute, a bench player, or reserve. And you have been sitting on the bench. And you have been wanting to be a part of the game. You showed up in your uniform, but there you sit on the sideline and you're cheering all of those that everyone looked up to. Everyone that people high five and they yell their name, but there you sit on the sideline labeled the substitute. You're labeled the bench player or the bench warmer. You're labeled the reserve, which means you sit on the outside waiting to be summoned to come on the floor so you can play, so they can rest, so they can get back on the floor. Again, I'm not a basketball player. But a starting line, the starter person, hold on. Okay, substitute, bench players, and reserve are players who are not or did not start at the beginning, but can be substituted in for players who are on the court, meaning you are not a star player. Have you ever, or are you in a season where you just don't feel like that you're a star player? Are you in a season where you feel like you're just a substitute? Are you in a season where you feel like you're just a bench warmer? Are you in a season where you feel like you're just a reserve? You show up with your uniform on. You show up with the players. You show up on time, but yet and still you're sitting on the sideline. My Lord. I come to let you know today, God is shuffling the players. God is moving players out and he's moving players in. My Lord. You may say, well, Yolanda, I done sat on the sideline so long, I don't even know if I'm even part of the team. I don't even know if I can play the game. I come to let you know that every time you showed up, and you showed up with your uniform on, you was part of the team. You're part of the body. It doesn't matter the title. It doesn't matter where you started. It doesn't matter what time you go on the floor. It doesn't matter. You're still part of the team. But God needed you to sit on the sideline. He needed you to be a substitute. He needed you to be a bench player and a bench warmer. He needed you to be on reserve because he knew it was going to be a time such as this, that the reserve, that the bench players, the bench warmers, the substitute was who he was going to be looking for. He says, hold on, I don't want to get ahead of myself. God strategically pulls you in the game at a time such as this. See, you wanted to be in the beginning, the first start of the game. You felt like that you could play a good game. You felt like you were just as good as the others. But God said, I need you to take a step back. Because there's some things I need you to be looking for. I need you to be watching for. I need you to see how they playing. I need you to see how they showing up. But when I put you on the floor, when I summon you to the front, I'm going to need you to move a little different. I'm going to need you to show up a little different. God said, I strategically did this thing. I know you didn't like it. I know it didn't feel good. I know people talked about you. I know people laughed at you. I know people mocked you because they called you just a substitute. They said you was nothing but a bench warmer. They said you was nothing but a reserve. But God said you was my chosen. God said you was the one I was going to summon in this hour, in this time, in this season. You didn't know what I was doing. You didn't know what I had planned. There you sat. And you had to watch everybody in your eyes be great. You had to watch everybody go before you. But God said you didn't know what was cooking behind the scene. God said I was calling you in what they call, hold on. I wrote it somewhere. I think it's called overtime. I could be wrong. I can't find where I wrote that at. But God said this thing needed to go into overtime. There seemed to have been a tie. But God said we breaking the tie. We already won. We already victorious. But God said, since you want a rematch, we're going to do these things again. And I'm going to use my substitutes. I'm going to use my bench warmers. I'm going to use those that I had in reserve. Because while they were sitting back, while they was on the bench, I was preparing them. I was teaching them. I was showing them how to move. I was showing them how to show up. I was teaching them what they needed to do. I was showing them who they needed to be. My God, who am I talking to? Who been sitting on the sideline? Who been sitting on the bench? Who's been a substitute? I come to let you know you're getting ready to be summoned. God is getting ready to call your name. My Lord. God said it's time. God said it's your time to play. It's your time to shine. It's your time to show who you are. It's your time to let people know what I've been doing behind the scene. It's your time. A substitute. I've been a substitute. I've been a bench warmer. I've been in reserve. I wasn't a starter. I wasn't this player that everyone looked up to. Sometimes I felt like I wasn't even part of the team. My Lord. Sometimes I felt like I didn't even belong. My Lord. Because I didn't know, I wasn't aware that this thing was going to go into overtime. But I had to keep showing on, keep showing up. I had to keep showing up in my uniform. I had to keep showing up with my heart posture. I had to keep showing up with love. I couldn't give up. I couldn't throw in the towel. God said, I need you to just keep showing up. God said, I need you to just keep being present. I know it doesn't feel good. I know it doesn't look good. But the game is not over yet. A sub have to wait to be summoned to play. You being summoned. You had to sit. You had to wait. You had to wish and you had to hope. But now you're being summoned. The player who is being substituted. I told you God is the changing of the guards. God is switching out the players. Those that thought that they was great. Those that thought that they was smarter. Those that thought that they was better. Those that thought because they had great influence. Those that thought because they had an excellent speech. Those that thought because they went to college and had a certificate and degree. Those that had the ideal job and money in the bank. Those that had the perfect credit score. God is saying now you're being substituted. And you must exit the court. See, when the substitute is summons, substituted has to exit the court. He done played this game. He done showed everybody who he is. He done showed everybody what he can do. But God says it's time to exit. It's time for you to exit the court. But in my research, it said before the sub enters, that the substituted have to exit the court. So God is saying, I'm summoning you now. I'm calling you now. I'm beckoning for you now. I'm switching out the players. And all those that you thought was better than you, was greater than you, was smarter than you, they're now exiting the court. And I'm summoning you. I'm summoning you to come forward. Revelation 12:1-8. I am the living one. I died. But look, I am alive forever and ever. And I hold the keys of death and the grave. You got to be Team Jesus in this hour. I understand how you used to the game being played. I know you used to the people that start the game first being greater, being better. I get that. But God is saying, I'm switching out the players. I'm switching out the players. God is switching you out today. In this hour, we need some Shaquille O'Neals. We need some Larry Birds. We need some Bill Russells. We need some Oscar Robertson. We need some Wilt Chamberlain. We need some Magic Johnson. We need some Michael Jordans. We need some real players in this hour. Because this rematch is more intense. It's more passion. It's more pressure. And you can't bow down in this hour because of your rivals. The team you playing against, the team you up against. And it may be some friends. It may be some families. But God is saying, I'm looking for those that are going to fight no matter what. You're not going to bow. You're not going to compromise. You're not going to throw in the towel. But God said, I need you to know that this is intense. There's going to be some attitudes. There's going to be some hurtful things said. There's going to be some hurtful things done. You may get cursed out on the court. You may be challenged to a fight during this game. There may be some things done or said that may try to pull you out of character. But God is saying, I need you to remember whose team you on. God is saying in this hour, I'm looking for the substitutes. I'm looking for the bench warmers. I'm looking for those that's been on reserve. Because in his word, 1 Corinthians 1, 1 Corinthians 1:26 and 27. Remember, dear brothers and sisters, that a few of you were wise in the world. You know, you the ones that started out playing. You was the one that everybody looked up to. You was the one with the great influence. You was the one with the excellent of speech. You was the one that went to college and got degrees and certificates. You was the one with the high credit score. You was the one with the great career. You was the one with the money in the bank. You was the one that everyone looked up to. He said, but a few of you was wise in the world's eye, or powerful or wealthy, when God called you. Instead, God chose things the world considered foolish. God called me the substitute, the bench warmer, the bench player, the reserve. God called the one that you would have looked past, that you wouldn't have considered, that you wouldn't even thought about. God chose things the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. Sometimes we think those that are in certain position and those that live a certain lifestyle are wise. And we look down on those that we consider less than is foolish. But God's saying, I'm coming and I'm going to use the things that is foolish to you, but who are wise to me. And he chooses things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. God chose things despised by the world, things counted as nothing at all. Have you ever been in a season, my Lord, where you just felt like you are nothing and a nobody? Have you ever been in a season where you was treated like a nothing and a nobody? Have you ever been there? You the one God looking for. And use them to bring nothing what the world considered important. God has said, I'm going to use you. Because the world looks at you as nothing. The world looks at you as worthless. The world looks at you as useless because you're this and because you're that, because you don't have this and you don't have that. God said, I'm summoning you to come out on the court. It's time for you to take your position. It's time for you to get ready to play. I needed you on the sideline. Because when your brothers and your sisters, because when your friends and your family, those that threw you away, those that cast you aside, when they show up, you're going to know how to treat them. You're going to know how to still love them. You're going to know how to still embrace them. Joseph had to feed those that mistreated him, that hated him, that did him wrong, that meant him no good. He went the pit, prison. He had to go through all of that because he was hated. You may have went through a season. You might be in a season as we speak. And you know that you're hated in this hour. You know you've been talked about in this hour. You know you've been mocked in this hour. You know you've been tore down in this hour. But you showed up anyway. You stood strong anyway. You kept going anyway. God is saying now, it's time for the palace. Because you didn't give up. Because you didn't walk away. Because you passed the test. I'm ready to reward you. You're getting ready to receive your reward. But God said, before I reward you, I need you to feed some people. God had to set it up for Joseph to go last. It had to be set up where Joseph was sitting on the sideline, being a bench warmer, being in reserve. Because when it was time for Joseph to show up, he had to have a different heart posture. He couldn't treat people dirty and wrong how they treated him. Because God, he went through a heart transplant. God had to change some things in his heart. God had to remove that bitterness, that hurt, that pain. Because God knew who was coming down his pathway. And God said, I need your heart to be postured. Because the same people that saw you while you was going down, they're going to see you and see how I raised you up. And you're going to be in a position when they come hungry, when they come thirsty, when they come naked, when they come broken, when they come beaten, you're going to be able to offer them help and love. You're going to be able to minister to their pain. You're going to be able to help them in their time of need, and it's coming. You're going to be able to say, what do you need? I got you. I got your back. It's not that I forgot what you did, how you treated me, how you ignored me, how you didn't consider me, how you threw me in the pit, and then I end up in prison. I'm not going to forget. I haven't forgotten what you did. I just forgave you for what you did. Joseph had to be the one to go last. Because in the season and time that we in right now, it was vital that he went last. Because we're getting ready to see some hungry folks. And God needed somebody in position that was going to be able to sit them down and feed them. God needed somebody with a heart posture of Christ that will say, I got your back. No, I know you don't recognize me. I know you don't remember me. But I remember you. But we're not even going to talk about that. We're not even going to discuss that. We're not even going to reminisce on that. I'm past that. What can I do for you? What do you need? God is going to do so much in your life that your friends and your family, they're not even going to recognize you. But you're going to know them when they come. You're going to know that they're hungry when they come. You're going to know that they're thirsty when they come. You're going to know that they're naked when they come. You're going to know that they're broken when they come. And I come to let you know, it's not if, but it's when. Because they're coming. God is looking for some Davids, some Abrahams, some Josephs, etc. in this hour. God understands the weight. God hasn't forgotten about your tears. God has not forgotten about your sleepless nights. God has not forgotten about you tossing and turning. But God is saying to you today, it's time for you to enter the floor. God has summoned you to come out and play. For many years, you dressed the part. You dressed to play. But God said, now I have summoned you. I pray that something was said that will cause you to reevaluate your situation, your circumstance, your current, what you're going through, what you're facing, who's up against you. Just know it's just a rematch. The battle has already been won. But the enemy, he wouldn't accept his L. So here we are. And God was so confident that he would win again, he said, let's do this. So here you are. God has chosen you off the bench. He strategic, you know the word, had you on the sideline for a time such as this. And now you've been summoned. I pray something was said that would just encourage you today to relook at your circumstance. God knew what he was doing when he had you waiting, because God was doing something in your heart. God was fixing that brokenness. And God said, now you're ready. Now I can summon you. Now I can put you on the floor. Now you're part of my team. And we're going to run this rematch again. It's going to be more intense. It's going to be more pressure. It's going to be some trash talking. You know how they do. There are going to be some challenges. There are going to be some oppositions. There are going to be some setback. But we got this thing. I come to let you know you got this. And all God needs you to do is just show up. You have been summoned for this rematch. God has confidence in you. He instilled enough in you while you sit back and watch other people be praised and worshiped. But God said it's your time to shine. Speak life over yourself, over your friends, over your foes, over those that gave up on you, pushed you aside. Speak life over them as well. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Until next time, everyone have an amazing day. Enjoy your weekend. And remember, it's just a rematch. And God has chosen you on his team. Don't let him down. God bless.